If you have ever sat down to study for hours and hours and still felt like you achieved nothing, this video is for you. Because I used to think something was wrong with me. I used to think maybe I'm not disciplined enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I just don't have what it takes. But later, I learned something that changed everything. Everything. The way I thought and the way I processed. Sometimes it's not your effort, it's your environment. The environment you are in. Let me take you back to my engineering days. The good old days when I was doing my engineering long back. A student studying engineering, and I used to see some students who were like my classmates not hanging around the college too much. They were not sitting in the canteen all day, they were not wasting time in the groups after lectures, but they were getting better grades. That confused me. So I asked a couple of them directly, how come you are scoring like this, so much grades? And I directly asked them, like, how is that possible? And one of them said something very simple at the time. I go to the library. I go to the library, not the college one, not the college library, but the public library. He said, I don't try to study anywhere and everywhere. No, I go to one place where the only job is to study. At that time, this sounded like a good student thing, right? And honestly, I wasn't sure if it would work for me or not. Because till that point, I always studied at home. Always studied at home. It was normal. It was comfortable. It was what I knew. So I decided to try the library. I joined a public library near my area, and I still remember this very clearly. It was open from morning till late evening. And when I went there the first time, I still remember I got a shock, absolute shock, because people were sitting there for long hours, like serious long hours studying. Some would even come in the morning and leave at night. I think it used to open at 8 in the morning and go till 11 at night. They used to come at that time. And I looked at them and thought, like, what kind of dedication is this? Oh my God. So I did what every ambitious student would do, right? I did that. I copied the extreme version of them. I thought if they are studying from morning to night, I will also do that. Why not? So I went early the next day. I carried my books. I even carried food with me so that I can have my lunch. And I tried to sit there the whole day. The whole day. And guess what happened? Guess what happened? It didn't work. It didn't work. Not because the library was bad. No, that's not the problem. The problem was I misunderstood what was actually helping. After about 2 or 3 hours, my brain would get bored after a couple of hours. And then the rest of the day was not the real study. The rest of the day became fake productivity, right? I am in the library and I'm studying, but actually the productivity is not there. We are not studying. You know what I mean, right? You are sitting with a book open, but you are not absorbing anything. You read the same paragraph, say 3 times, 4 times, and then you start looking around. Then you start talking to someone you know. Then you take breaks that become longer than the study itself. So technically you can tell people, yeah, I studied all day, I studied all day today. But inside you know the truth. You studied seriously only for small part. That was my lesson number 1. And I was young at the time, right? Just doing my engineering. Long hours don't automatically mean meaningful hours. Then I made a small change in my routine. Instead of trying to stay there the entire day, I started using library for what it was best at. Focused study blocks. I started going when I was fresh, like morning around 9 o'clock when you are all fresh, or evening around 6 or 7 when you don't have any burden with you. And I would study for 2.5 hours, max 3 hours, but mostly 2.5 hours. And I would leave. That was the magic. Those 2 to 3 hours in the library were more productive than many hours at home. Not because I became a different person there. No, because the environment that I was in removed the friction. What friction? Okay, let me explain what changed when I went to the library. First, the library had a study signal. The moment you enter, your brain understands this place is for focus. This place is for focus. At home, your brain has mixed signals, right? At home, you are at home, but the home can mean study, the home can mean rest, home can mean food, home can mean phone, home can mean family talks, home can mean bed, and there are so many things the home can mean. So the brain keeps switching modes when you are at home. But at library it's different. The second thing is the library had very fewer distractions for me. At that time we didn't have the level of distractions people have today, like no constant smartphones, no endless scrolling, and no notifications every minute. I mean, I didn't have a smartphone even at the time. So if you went to the library, you basically went there to do one thing: study. The only real distraction was people you knew. So I created a rule for myself. I mean, if I go to the library, I will not hang out. I will finish my 2.5 hours, then leave. That rule alone changed my performance. That changed my performance. Third, the library gave me a clean ending. A clean ending. When I studied at home, the day felt unfinished. Like, I should study more. I didn't do enough. Maybe later. But when I studied at the library for 2.5 hours and then came home, I felt like I earned my rest after that. I felt relaxed after coming home from the library. I didn't carry any guilt with me. And when you remove your guilt, you actually become consistent. You become consistent. And now here's the part I want you to hear, especially if you are struggling right now. Especially if you are struggling right now. If you are not able to focus at home, it does not automatically mean you are lazy. It can mean a lot of things, but it can mean your environment is not supporting you right now. It is not supporting you right now. Some people have a quiet room. Some people have supportive family. Some people have space. Some people don't. Some people don't. And if you compare yourself to someone who has a better environment, you will feel like you are failing. You will feel like you are failing. But you are not failing, right? You are just playing a different game here. You are just playing a different game. That is why changing the environment works. At least it worked for me. And one more thing, and this is important. You don't need to become a library person. You don't need to romanticize it. You just need a focus zone. It can be a library. It can be a study room. It can be a quiet cafe with headphones on, a corner in your house where the phone stays away, even a parking lot in your car if it's quiet. So I'm not saying only library. I'm just saying a study block that you can have a quiet area. Yes, some people literally do that. If your home is full of distractions, sometimes your car becomes the most peaceful place on earth. Do you think that? Your car becomes a peaceful place. Now fast forward even years later, when I moved to United States, and I still use the same trick, honestly. Whenever I had a certification exam or something, whenever I felt behind, whenever I felt I am not studying enough, I didn't just try harder, I changed the environment. I looked at a nearby library because I already knew this from my early days, right? From the engineering days I remembered. So I continued that here in the United States. And I want you to take something out of this video. And what would be that? Don't copy someone else's routine. Don't copy the routine. Copy the principle. The principle here is focused blocks beat long distracted hours. If you can do that 2 hours of deep work daily for a month or some time, you will beat most of the people who study all day but don't focus, right? You will definitely beat that. Now I want to ask you something. If you have ever used a library or a different study environment and it helped you, write that in the comments. What helped you and it worked for you, and which country or which city you are from where it helped you. And if you have tried library or something and it didn't work, share that as well. Because your comment might help someone who is struggling right now and think that it is their problem and they are the problem. That is what is happening. But they are not, right? They are not. So a comment from you who would share would help them when they read those comments. Apart from what I am saying in the video, library helped for me, it would be something else, or library that helped you.